Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to my live today on YouTube. Today is Saturday, the 26th of July, and it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon, UK time. And so for those who don't know me yet, who are just catching it randomly or on replay, I'm a therapist and coach, and I come on YouTube and TikTok whenever I can to discuss anything to do with mental health, therapy, mindset, mindfulness, human psychology, human behavior, relationships, anything to do with the mind. Just ask me anything, and I do my best to not only answer you, but also give you some advice, hopefully actionable, that may change some aspect of your life. And so the way I do it, I always start by reading and commenting on some of the posts that I put out on TikTok. I apologize for the noise. There's some drilling. They're doing some constructions next door, so I hope that it's not going to interfere too much with the sound quality. There's nothing much I can do about it, I'm afraid. This is what happens when you live in London. So, what was I saying? What I normally do, I read and I comment on some of the posts that I put out on TikTok, just to give you an idea of what I do, and hopefully by the end of it, that will have inspired some of you or get you to find the courage to ask me something about yourself. Let's get started. The first post that I put out today on TikTok goes like this. When you talk to yourself the way your bullies talk to you, you are prolonging the bullying on their behalf. So what it means is that we have an inner voice, and we forget that the way we talk to ourselves is just a habit from the past. We don't really choose those thoughts. Many of us may not actually realize this, but we don't choose our thoughts. Our thoughts are just happenings. What we choose is to hold on to certain thoughts or not. And so whether we are going to choose to entertain certain thoughts is down to one thing. If we believe that those thoughts are true and important, then we're going to keep it playing again and again. But we can actually learn how to dismiss thoughts and choose how to not only let go of thoughts that are intrusive, that doesn't help us, but also we can choose better thoughts. Just 1 second, please. I'm going to put the fan on because it's a bit warmer than I thought it was going to be. And so we want to realize that the inner voice that we have, our inner critic, that little voice in our head that is always nagging us all the time, is not our voice. It's a program, and it's essentially an echo from the voices of the people from the past. And so whoever looked up to us, whoever hurt us, whoever were harsh on us, and it is more often than not voices that are mean, keep reverberating in the back of our mind, because there's a part of us that believes that they are serving a purpose, that they protect us, to remind us that we're not enough, we're not lovable, we're not capable, or any of those things. Originally, those voices are meant to, we believe that they're there to protect us. And so what I'm trying to say very clumsily today is that the voices that we have in our head that are always putting us down, saying, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, they are the echo of the voices of the bullies from our past. And we haven't upgraded it. And so as long as we allow for our inner critic, for this voice to keep going, to keep putting us down all the time, we're going to essentially allow for the bullies from the past to keep bullying us. But we're doing it on their behalf through our self-talk. I hope it makes sense. The second post that I put out today on TikTok goes like this. If you can understand that the ability to heal and grow together is more important than compatibility in a relationship, you are going in the right direction. So what it means is that very often when it comes to a relationship, people give the advice that you should choose your partner very wisely. Choose the person that you're going to be with, because they are such an important element of your whole life. And what people don't realize is that we don't choose people. We don't choose, we like to believe, we think that we choose people, but the reality is that we are attracted with people, and we end up with people because of all the emotional triggers, associations that we have about anything. And so we don't really choose, we end up with people. And the reason why I'm saying this is because not only a lot of us, we end up attracting not necessarily nice and kind people, but also because choosing people is naive, because there are so many parameters within any relationship for the relationship to either work or not. So we don't choose any of those things. There's one thing, however, that can be very useful is to realize that instead of looking for someone with whom we have a lot of compatibility, we could actually learn how to grow and heal together, because everyone has baggage. Everyone has got some sort of unhealed wounds from the past. And so I think that's a much better way to look at relationships. There needs to be some sort of attraction, and that is natural. That's why we end up with people anyway. But if we can realize that instead of expecting the person to change, to be like us, to like the same things as us, if you can think of the relationship also as a project, to learn how to heal together and connect and do some work together so that we can go together in the same direction, then there'll be a much more productive way and efficient way to optimize happiness in relationship. Finally, the third post that I put out today on TikTok goes like this. Most people don't know that they are traumatized. They believe that they are broken, that they are not enough, that they are not worthy. And that's because no one has taught them about the concept of trauma. And this is about mental health awareness. Especially the elder generations, but even now, people are still learning, and a lot of people don't know much about it. But what we don't realize is that we are all affected in some capacity by our childhood, and trauma comes in many sizes and shapes. But because we don't know about this, the system that has been put into place is judging others. People call each other and self stupid, lazy, weak, inferior, mean, or any of those things, and we don't realize that any behavior that we have is not a choice of behavior. Unless and until we work on it, we're going to be just repeating the program that is subconscious and emotional that we have put into place because of whatever happened to us in childhood. And so when people are coming across as, again, stupid, lazy, weak, greedy, selfish, or any of those things, they're not any of those things. They're literally just behaving in the only way they know how to behave based on who they believe they are in order to stay safe. Whatever we do in our adulthood is primarily to soothe our nervous system. People don't realize this. And so let's say if someone is going to be a people pleaser, why do we do that? To soothe their nervous system. Some people may be lying to others. Why do we do that? It's not because they want to lie necessarily or manipulate. More often than not, it's because they want to soothe their nervous system. Why do people mask? Why do people stay away from home? From people, they stay at home? Again, because it is a subconscious program that is constantly trying to make us feel better about ourselves based on whatever happened to us and whatever system we have put into place as we grew up. And so my point here is that most people don't realize that they have had a childhood that has affected their behavior, their brain, the way they function, the way they see things, the way they interpret reality, the way they regulate their emotions or not, the way they think about everything and anyone, starting with self. And if we can realize this, then we can stop saying things like, I am broken, I am not enough, because it was never any of those things. We end up believing this because people tell us those things, because we live in a very mean, cruel, unkind society that is based on this judgment, blaming, shame, scapegoating, sin, guilt, and all those things. And none of us are productive or useful to our well-being and happiness. And so, like, you are not enough, you are not broken, you may be traumatized. And by trauma, there are different types of trauma. So the idea that we have of trauma at a general level is when we have been abused, or when we've been in an accident, or something that was very overwhelming, we grew up in extreme poverty, or things like that. But this is trauma with a big T. There is a trauma called small t trauma. And basically, it is when we are suffering from neglect, for instance. If our parents were not always there to protect us and support us unconditionally, as a child, we're going to feel then that we're not safe. If I'm not loved unconditionally, if I'm only loved when they're proud of me, when I make them proud, then it means that they are not protecting me because they don't love me all the time. And so we get to create some systems, such as people pleasing, amongst many others, to survive, and that is going to affect our personality, it's going to affect our behavior, it's going to affect the way, again, we interpret reality, the way we read people, the way we understand things that are being said, and the way we're going to react to it. So there you go. Just an insight about mental health and as to how we are all more affected by our childhood than we like to believe. And if we can do this, we can stop judging others and self. And just that would change not only the state of mental health of everyone individually, but also that would change society as a whole. Anyway, let me read the comment. There are a couple of here. Lynn, good afternoon, Didi. I get so much from your shorts. They always seem to resonate and bring clarity. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynn. I'm glad that you appreciate this. Your support is very much appreciated. Chris Smith, what's up? My name is Didi Khan. My first name is Didi. Please call me Didi. Khan is my last name. I don't like to be called, no one calls me like that, except some teachers when I was at school when I was a kid, and so that's why I don't like it. It reminds me of some teachers saying me, Mr. Khan, are you listening? Are you chatting with your friends or whatever? And so please call me Didi. Antonio Salazar, are you Thai or Cambodian? I am neither. I'm neither. I understand that there's a situation happening at the moment there, and it's terrible, it's so sad, and it's difficult because, again, both sides are claiming that it's the other one's fault. And so at this point in time, it's hard to tell what's going on. But no, I am neither. My genetic is Chinese, but I was born in France, in Paris, a long time ago, and I've been living in London, in the UK, for 28 years. And so, again, for those who are new, I'm a therapist and coach, and I specialize in depression, anxiety, addiction, anger issues, and anything to do with stress, self-sabotage, and trauma. And so, if you want to talk about any of those things, also, not just that, but those are my specialisms. But I'm happy to talk about spirituality, talk about mindset, any hacks, any systems that could help you out with anything at all. Relationship issues, all of those things. My main conversation is to teach people the mechanics of the mind, because if you can understand how our mind works, we can also understand how other people's mind work, and everything is much easier. We don't need to fight against each other. We don't need to take things personally. We don't need to react to things. We can understand instead. And this is very much what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to teach people, to show them the bigger picture of humanity, the human nature, so that we stop judging and we start understanding instead. Antonio Celeste, tu parles français? Oui, je parle français. Yes, I speak French, but I need to speak English for the sake of the live, because most people speak English on YouTube. If you have a question in French, I will answer it in French, and then I will translate it in English straight away. Antonio, are you better speaker in French or English? My English is better now, because I spent more time living in the UK than in France. So sometimes when I'm thinking about the French, I forget the words, and I need to go in the English-French dictionary to remember. I also speak Chinese, and I forget even more. And so this is an interesting thing, because some of us are speaking more than one language, but the brain is very economical. And so whatever we don't use, we lose. And so this is what happens. It will always be there, but if I don't use it, I will forget it, and we need to, like, I use French every now and then with my clients. Some of my clients are French, so it's not too bad. But my Chinese, for instance, and I used to speak Italian as well, is very, very poor now, because I don't get myself much opportunities to practice those languages. That goes with everything. Whatever that we reinforce, we become better at. Whatever that we don't, it just start to vanish over time. Kalan Kamel said hi. Hello, Kalan. Lynn, do you believe watching our parents argue constantly throughout our childhood, etc., affects how we view ourselves? Yes, absolutely. If we had some parents who were always arguing, the first thing we're going to take from that is that love is not available to us. Because our parents are there to show us about how adults behave in life. So children learn more by observation than anything. So we teach things to kids, we tell them, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. But what we teach them, what we tell them, it doesn't really matter as much as what they observe of us. So let's say if a parent tell their kids, you should do this, but the parent don't behave like that, they're going to pick up on the behavior, not what has been said. And if there's a clash, they're going to believe that also there's no honesty. People are not, people are just talking for the sake of talking, and it doesn't match their actions. And so when we see our parents constantly arguing, first, we don't feel safe. As a child, we need to live in a place that is safe. We have some basic needs, and the first one, the most important one, is to feel safe. And so if the parents are arguing, they are the adults, they're the ones who are supposed to look after us, to protect us. If they can't not argue, it's always going to be noise, fear, chaos, and so we won't feel safe. So as a starter, that will affect already the child. Now, also depending on what is being said and the level of intensity of the situations can really bring a lot of limiting belief in the child as they grow up in that environment. So yes, absolutely. Lynn. And it affects how we view ourselves indeed. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that they end up, many of us end up with many traits from one of our parents. Even if we don't like those traits, even if we don't like the parent. The way we talk to ourselves is often an echo of how not only they talk to us, but how they talk to people. And so I'm going to rephrase that. The way we talk to ourselves and the way we talk to others often echo how our parents talk to us and how they talked to other people, and how they talked about other people when they're not around. And so if you look at our own behavior, we may notice, if we raise an awareness of this, that a lot of things that we do, it doesn't have to be like that. And so the first example that I can give is we live in a society where everyone is very cruel and mean. We like to joke, to laugh, to mock others. We like to have entertainment and fun out of the misery of someone. And this happens all the time. And it doesn't have to be like this. We judge others and we judge ourselves all the time. So I used to be like that, like big time, for a long time. For instance, I would judge people. That person, what an idiot. And this one, oh, look at them, they're so fat, they're so ugly. And look at, that's the normality. And it's just subconscious habit that so many of us have. And we forget that this originated from the example that we had from our parents. We might not even believe or think any of those things, it's just a habit. And so we do this at any different level, the way we talk to ourselves as well. So one example that I often give is that I used to be very mean to myself. For instance, if I dropped something, I would, you're so effing clumsy, what the hell is wrong with you? I would insult myself. And at some point I realized, why am I doing this to myself? I could be kind to myself. But the reason why I'm not is because that's how I've been talked to when I was a child. Parents, teachers, society, everyone used to talk to me like that. And so I ended up talking to myself in the same way. And so I decided, that's enough. Now I want to talk to myself the way I wished I was talked to then, with kindness, with patience, with compassion. And I do this now. It took me some time, but now I've learned how to be kind to myself through my inner voice. And this is what we want to realize. So many of us, we are being unkind to ourselves, and we're also being unkind to others. And none of this is necessary. We can absolutely learn how to be the better people. There are some people in the world that are very kind. They're quite rare, but when we see them, when we come across them, we're like, oh, that's really nice. We can be those people if we take time to learn those new habits. That's it. So, Toxic Pro 3219. As I've gotten older, I've realized I am only really happy when I am in a relationship. Otherwise, I feel like I have no goals. Why is this, and how can I feel better by just being just myself? Okay, so this is a very interesting question. Let me try to understand this. I don't know. Let me try to think about it. If you feel like you need someone to complete you, actually, you know what? I was in similar position for a long while. I used to believe that. So again, I have a lot of conditions, and I've been through an awful lot all my childhood, teenagehood, young adulthood. And so when I address questions like that, I try to tap into my own memory to see if there's any emotional element that can remind me of how it felt. And I found one. And so for a long time, I used to believe that I was nothing. And I needed someone to complete me. I needed someone to make sense of my life. I needed someone to feel something. I believed that my life was worth nothing. And if I was not sharing my life with someone, when I'm gone, my life would have never existed because there would be no witness left. And so I think it's something to do with the way you see yourself. If you don't love yourself, if you don't see yourself like someone that is a person in its own right, with its flaws, quality, that you deserve to be happy, if you don't feel that you belong, any of those things and more, then you will believe that the only way for you to feel love, to feel that you exist, is to be with someone. And maybe it's similar to what I've been through myself. And so, if you feel like that, I would ask you, do you believe that you may suffer from some type of depression or anxiety? That's how I would address this. I think it's more important to address the bigger picture. Do you believe that you have anything like that? A toxic pro? Have you felt alone and maybe lacking purpose for the most of your life? Tell me more about yourself, please, and maybe we can get closer to something that will work for you. Chris Smith, is depression real? Because I know people that sit in bed all day for months, but I could never do that. I have felt sad, but I just get over it. Okay, so this is very important. Very good question. Thank you, Chris Smith. Depression is real. Yes, any mental and emotional conditions are real. Now, what matters is not whether it's real or not. What matters is your level of empathy. And so, let me explain it in a simple way. Sometimes we forget that we are not the center of the world. I'm coming from a good place. I'm not trying to belittle you or mock you. We all do this. I used to do this. We forget that even though we are very special and important, no one is the center of the world. So what it means is that because I think the way I think, it doesn't mean that everyone thinks like me. Because I believe the things that I believe, it doesn't mean that everyone believes the same things. Because I feel the way I feel, it doesn't mean that everyone feels the same thing. Because people behave in a certain way that is not like what I would do, it doesn't mean that they're bad. But because we forget that, we end up judging others. I can't feel, I don't have any depression. Sometimes I feel sad, I get better. What's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? And that's because you've been taught that some people were weak. It's a lie. It's a belief. People believe that some people are strong, some people are weak. And it's not true. It's only true in some very specific configurations. And so let's say if we go in a gym and we need to compete for powerlifting, in that context, someone is going to be stronger than the other because you need to lift weights. So there's numbers, there are criteria, there are rules. And so it's easy to measure who is stronger, who is weaker. But as a person, as a human being, no one is weak. No one is strong. We all have strength and weakness depending on the context. Right? But if you're going to say someone is weak, what's wrong with you? Why don't you try harder? Depression is not a real thing. Now, you're lacking empathy. And it's not your fault because we behave the way we've been taught. So we all are what we are. But I would suggest you is to realize that one of the most important things that we can do is to put ourselves into other people's shoes. This is what we call empathy. It's about realizing that I'm not the center of the world because I function the way that I do. Doesn't mean that if others don't function the same way, they are bad. They must be punished or ridiculed. And this is how empathy teaches us to expand our perspective and be kinder to people. Instead of asking, instead of thinking, what's wrong with you, mate? Why are you spending all month in bed? I have no problem with that. Why do you have a problem? Because you are not them. They are not you. We all have different starts in life. We all have different baggage, different wounds, different parents, different education, different secret conditions that no one can see because it's invisible. No one knows what's going on behind someone's mind. And so there's that, right? Depression, it's real. Anxiety is real. Any mental health conditions are real. But if we don't have that problem and we don't know how to be empathetic, then we're not going to believe that. But I can give you an analogy. It's like people who are very rich and very poor. Some people are born in a family and in a community that is very poor. Some people are born in a place and a family and community where everyone is very, very financially free and safe. A lot of money, everyone happy, healthy, no problem. People who are there, they will never understand what it is to be really poor. It's not that they're bad, they just don't know. Unless they spend some time with them, unless they met them, unless they try to ask them about their life, they wouldn't understand what it is for someone to struggle to pay their bills week after week, and always be under a state of stress because they don't know if they're going to make it the next week. And it's a real thing for so many people in the UK, in America, all over the place. But if we are living in that bubble at the top, in the middle there, those people, they can't understand how it feels. And so empathy will get them to understand. If they don't have empathy, then they're going to dismiss them and they're going to keep voting for the Conservatives, for instance, because they don't, to them, it makes no difference if the bills are a bit higher or lower. They have plenty of money. And so this is just a different example, and there are millions of them to show how empathy is so important to expand our worldview and to also find some kindness so that we can connect with people. And we can realize that we are all the same and we're all doing our best to make the most of our life based on the start we have been given and the environment that we're in. I hope it makes sense, Chris Smith. But yes, some people suffer from depression, and some people cannot move from their bed. Some people cannot have a shower, wash their teeth. They can't do anything at all because it's so overwhelming. It's a real condition. It comes in many different sizes and shapes, but depression and anxiety and any of those conditions, they're all real and they can really debilitating and affect someone's, some people unalive themselves. I'm using unalive because of the, I use TikTok a lot and I want to make sure that the algorithm doesn't get upset at my words. But you understand what I'm saying? And so it is, of course, it is real. It is serious enough for people to no longer want to live anymore. So yeah, what do you think about this, Chris? Elsa, are you European? The accent is interesting. So my accent is French. I was born in Paris in France, so yes, technically my passport is French, so I've kept some of my French accent. Yeah. But because the visual doesn't match the audio, it can be a bit confusing to some of you. Louis, it's kind of weird hearing you ram so fast because in your shorts you speak so slow. Oh, it depends. Sometimes, yeah, it's true, you're right. It depends on my state. The reason I'm talking so quickly today is because I've been to the gym this morning. And when I go to the gym and I drink a lot of coffee, I'm all over the place. And so I've got conditions. I've got ADHD, borderline, bipolar, and so my brain can accelerate and can be into some very fast mode like today. But I'm still in control. I'm still very mentally clear. I know exactly what I'm talking about and how to articulate things. So if I'm a little bit too fast for you, do remind me and I will do my best to slow down. But it is chemical. I have elevated certain chemical levels in my body because of the training. This is affecting my behavior and my speed of speech, indeed. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely correct. You're correct. Well done for noticing this, Louis. Louis, thanks for the positive moments you have given me through my scrolling. You always have good advice. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you appreciate, Louis. Thank you. Chris Smith, this is real facts about me. Okay, I talked to someone, my military friends. 2 of them have PTSD. They say they have nightmares, but it doesn't affect my mind the same way. Because you're different. This is it. You're different. We're all different. So I can talk about PTSD if you wish. The way we react to things are based to the way our brain functions. And the way our brain functions is going to be different for every single individual, depending on their upbringing. And so there's been a lot of studies done of all sorts of wars. And let's say, for instance, some soldiers during the Vietnam War. They've noticed that all the soldiers, they've been through the same situations and the same horror. And some of them and many of them get traumatized and had PTSD. However, some of them managed to get better within a month. Some of them managed to get better after 6 months. Some of them managed, took longer or less. Some of them never get better. Some of them get worse. Some of them had nightmares and were always on hyper alert, vigilant state. So what is the difference? And so we found out that all the soldiers that suffered the most from PTSD had a very terrible childhood. They've been suffering from abuse. They didn't have any emotional stability. They didn't have any coping mechanism. And so because of that, they had a propensity to react more to trauma. That's the difference. And so it doesn't mean that some people are stronger or weaker than others. It only means that some of us have grown up in a place that has affected us more, that has affected the development of our brain, and particularly the part of our brain in charge of regulating our emotions. As in, if we're freaking out, there's a part of our brain that is in charge of making us calm down, chill. For some of us, it's not possible because our brain didn't develop to do this, because we're overwhelmed by our life back then already as a child. And so that's the difference. There are many parameters, but this is just to give you an idea as to how we're also vastly different, and no one chooses to do anything. No one chooses to be weak or to be sensitive or to be needy or whatever. We are which what we are because of our birth, our upbringing, our genetics, our education, or trauma, or bullies, or environment, and we never chose any of this. No one has ever chosen any of this. And so I hope it makes sense. Chris. Elsa, message retracted. Elsa, Chris, depression is real. Everybody feels sad sometime and gets over it. Depression is different. You can't get over depression. You need to get help. You can't do it on your own. Yes, I agree. So, depression is not being sad. Being sad, being angry, being scared, feeling disgusted, being surprised, all of those are normal human emotions. They are part of our human adventure. They belong to the spectrum of emotions. We will all experience this. However, depression is not the same. Depression is sadness, but at a different level of amplitude, intensity, duration, frequency. It's so huge that it's affecting our life. It's the same thing with anxiety. Sometimes we have some worries, some self-doubt, some anxiety, but suffering from anxiety is different. It's a condition that is debilitating. It's always there. It's preventing us to think. We're always in a very unsettling state. And so the difference between a condition and an emotional state is the level of it. It's how much, how long, how often, how frequent. That's the difference. Depression and sadness is not the same thing. It starts with the same emotion, but when you feel sad, after a while, it goes. When you're depressed, it stays. And it's the same thing with anxiety. If you suffer from anxiety, you don't have a little bit of anxiety. You have some waves and sometimes some panic attacks, and it can be extremely debilitating. And it affects our sense of self. It affects not only our self-esteem, but how we see ourselves and how we interact with everyone and everything that we do in life. And so, yeah, those things are real and have some serious major repercussions in people's lives. Now, if you don't have it, you're lucky. But I would suggest you really to just learn how to expand your mind and remind yourself that the best thing we can do as a human being, instead of judging them based on our own experience, is to put ourselves into their shoes so that we can understand them, so we can help them, so that we can learn from them, so we can learn more about ourselves as well. I hope it makes sense. Chris? Thank you, Elsa. Lynn, it's true. I used to jokingly poke fun at myself because I thought it was better. I said it first than to be hurt by others. Okay, I get it. I did feel unseen from childhood, but I never drew attention to myself. Okay, yeah. Sounds right. Elsa, I subscribed. All right, thank you. Fantastic. Thank you, Elsa. Much appreciated. Lynn, at Toxic. I can empathize as I felt that way for many years until I worked on myself and self-worth. Didi is correct. It's often depression behind it. Talking about the PTSD, or am I mixed up here? It's not the depression, but I mean, I understand what you mean. What I'm saying is that we are growing like a tree, and so whatever happens to us at the start of our life is going to have much more impact for the rest of our life, because it's going to be everything that we go through in life is the result of our belief. So our belief are the subconscious triggers, the subconscious filters, lenses and triggers that we have created, from which we can perceive life and reality and ourselves. So what it means is that the first belief that we have about ourselves are going to create more beliefs that are similar. So that's why people talk about core belief. We have a lot of belief about everything, but if we started in a very dark place, it will all be tainted by the darkness. It will go in that direction. We will have more negativity bias than if we didn't. And so this is why, again, no matter what happens to us in adulthood, the first 7 or 10 years of our life are going to be so important to how we handle anything that happened to us in adulthood. I hope it makes sense. Toxic. I have been struggling with a lack of motivation since 2022. Okay, now I've mixed up. You are a different conversation than the PTSD. I get it. Not cleaning myself up, okay, or just being lazy. You're not being lazy. I can talk about this after. But recently, I have been doing better. But when I'm in a relationship, I exercise more and I am better. Okay, so you want to address the cause of your depression. You have some belief about yourself that keep on entertaining some negative thoughts about yourself in your mind. And it is those negative thoughts that keeps on hypnotizing you into believing that you're not worthy, that you're not capable, that you don't deserve anything, that you need someone, that you're not enough to be happy on your own. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say belief. Belief are the reasons as to why we suffer from anything at all. Everything is about our belief and triggers. And so I understand that you are feeling better. So you know that when you exercise more, you're feeling better. And so this is something that is quite important. Addressing our lifestyle, as in sleeping well, eating well, exercising, going out in nature, socializing the best we can, doing things that make us happy, and doing things that relaxes us. All of those things are going to help with any other condition. So if you don't have access to therapy, at least focus on those things, because you know that you feel better when you exercise. When you exercise, you're literally getting your body to produce all those happy and healing hormones in your body. That's why it feels better. You're doing it biologically, right? And so that helps. Now, it doesn't address the root cause of your depression. And so we can talk about this if you want, but it's not normal. Nothing is normal if we suffer from it. We're meant to be happy. We're meant to be confident. We're meant to feel safe. We're meant to do things that we enjoy. And if there's something that doesn't go with that, it's our body telling us that is wrong. We must address that thing. So illness could be physical or mental. They're there to essentially highlight that there's some actions we must take to change our life, because this is not right. So we don't want to accept it and take it for normal. We don't want to take those things for granted. Depression is not normal. Anxiety is not normal. Being stressed out and burned out is not normal. Insomnia is not normal. Overthinking is not normal if it's a pattern, and so forth and so on. They're just signals that are there to tell us that there's something that we should change about our life. Ambika, are you Nepali? No, I'm not. I'm laughing because someone asked me already that. It's like a geography day. Everyone is wondering where I'm from. My genetics is Chinese. My education, my passport is French, and my accent as well. And I've been living in the UK, in London, for a longer time, but I've been living anywhere else. Toxic. I don't know if I'm depressed because I have friends. I care about my health, but emotionally I just feel unfulfilled unless I'm talking to or dating a lady. So yes, so depression comes in many sizes and shapes. So depression is essentially a disconnection from something or many things that are very important to us. So we may be disconnected from our tribe or people or family. We may be disconnected from our purpose. We may be disconnected from nature, from feeling good, and we can be disconnected from our feelings, from our emotions. If we don't feel certain things, we're disconnected from our body. And the depression is there to remind us, there's something wrong, reconnect with that thing. And so if you say that emotionally I just feel unfulfilled, I believe that you have some, do you believe that you have difficulties experiencing certain emotions? Do you feel the full spectrum of emotion or not? I believe that you may have a problem with that. I believe that the depression may have been born from you, maybe at some point in your life, you decided to repress some emotions for X, Y, Z reason, and because of that, you started to drift away from yourself and be depressed. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to say that you're depressed if you don't believe that you are. But to me, if you can't find happiness on your own, it's telling me something that is going in that direction. Chris Smith. Well, I am a light sleeper. Any small noise wakes me up quick. Okay? So there's a reason behind this. Everything that we display in behavior is always something that is reflecting something about us. It's there for a reason. And so do you believe that, have you had some intense episode of your childhood perhaps, or maybe as adulthood, where you have been in danger in the middle of the night? Do you believe that your brain wants to keep you awake, to keep you safe, because it believes that there's constant danger lurking in the dark? Or do you suffer from stress, anxiety? Do you think a lot? Are you happy? Any of those things. Aryan Kumar said hi. Hello. Genko. Elsa Blake. Do people confuse you with Korean? I'm just curious. It doesn't matter though, you don't need to answer. Yes, people think that I'm Japanese, that I'm Korean. The other someone believed that I was, what was it, Irish? I don't get it. I get all sorts. But it doesn't matter. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. I understand that people are curious. I wanted to get to know people, but for me, the geography, the country never mattered. I never felt that I belonged to any of those things. I don't see myself as French or Chinese or British. I really, really believe that I see myself like a citizen of the planet Earth. And that's how I see people. I don't really care where they come from. I see them as people, and if they tell me, it's interesting. But I personally don't really need to know. But I can understand that a lot of people find this very, very interesting. I think it's the contrast between my accent and my face. Maybe that can throw some people off. But yes, people come up with all sort of ideas of where I may be from. Elsa, message retracted. Genko, thank you for the knowledge either way. Okay, thank you, Genko. Elsa, I agree with you 100%. That's why I asked you if you were European. I agree 100%. Okay. So it's very... Okay, so we have different topics here. We talked about PTSD, we talked about depression, we talked about some aspect of insomnia. Anything you want to ask me, I'm happy to stay as long as you keep asking me questions. I do this for a living, and so it's my way to give a bit of karma payback. I'm just waiting for some question. Hopefully nothing about which country I may come from. What I can do is to read some of my posts and comment on it to give you some space and maybe some inspiration. Okay, one post that I haven't put out goes like this. Bullied people are more likely to have personal or family psychiatric issues and poor social and emotional intelligence. Bullying, therefore, only reinforces unfairness in this world. And so this is to highlight that what we don't realize is that sometimes bully people because we can clearly see something different about them. Sometimes, if there's nothing that is like major, like let's say I was bullied because I'm Chinese in a French white school when I was a kid, and I was fat and we were poor, so it was very obvious. But a lot of people get bullied because they are neurodivergent, because they have some mental issues or some member of the family have, and because of that, the behavior is going to be different, and that's what bullies pick up on. And so when this happens, something that is sad but important to highlight is that people who bully others, they're only reinforcing unfairness, because these guys, they already have enough on their plate. They don't need that on top of it. So something to think about, maybe. Chris Smith, I am mixed dad, white, and mother, Chinese and black. Okay, fantastic. Good on you. I'm going to carry on with reading my post. I would like to address things to do with psychology, if you don't mind, guys. That's what I do. Right? So make the most of my skills. Actually, there's a comment here. Elsa, what do you think about someone who has depression but doesn't want to take medication? Okay, let's talk about this. Many of us who have conditions, and we all are different into how we're going to address our problems. And so if someone doesn't want to take medication, it's their right. It's for them to decide. We don't want to force, because medications, they don't work on everyone. They don't work all the time either. And so for some people, medications can help. And even if it helps, it doesn't last very long. And so to me, I personally would never recommend or push people to take medications. I understand that some people do well with them and it can be helpful. But if we just take medication and we don't have a strategy in place to understand what happened and how we can change our problems from those places, then we're going only to create more problems in the long term. Because we're going to end up addicted to that medication and we're going to need higher dosage or something else, and now things are getting worse and worse. I believe that we all have within us all the tools that we need in order to heal, provided we have the right guidance. So I wouldn't personally push or recommend anyone to take any medications. Medications tend to help people to function better in society. And sometimes what we don't realize is that those people suffer because they're different. So we shouldn't try to fit in a society that was not designed for them. So I'm thinking about people who are neurodivergent, for instance, people with ADHD, like me, or on the spectrum of autism. Many are given medications. And those medications are there to make our life easier so that we can function in that system. That is the very reason why we suffer in the first place. People who are neurodivergent, they don't suffer because of their condition. They suffer because their brain doesn't function in the way a normal, neurotypical society has been designed. And so we don't want to force more of the problem. We want to create an environment and a space and a lifestyle that supports their brain, their specialness. So yes, what do you think about this, Elsa? Evie, hello. Do you have thoughts or advice on resilience? We can talk about this, yes? So what do you mean by this? Do you want to give me a context, please? Because it's just a word, resilience. I can't talk about this like that, but I don't believe that it's going to be maybe precise enough to help you with maybe what you have in mind. But if you can give me more, I'd love this. If not, I'm going to just answer based on that. Resilience. So resilience is the idea that we can be stronger. We can survive all the bad things. We're better at going through storms and battles. But I don't see it like that. The way I see resilience is our ability, it's how fast we get back on our feet. Because we're all going to have ups and downs, and we all end up in the gutter at some point in our lives. And we all get back on our feet. This is the very important aspect of it. We forget that we all get back on our feet, Resilience is how fast we get back, and if we're going to choose to learn and grow from that experience, or to suffer from it and believe that's bad, I'd never want to be there again. Resilience, the ultimate skill of resilience really is to understand that we all go through ups and downs all over life. So what matters is not us being strong against whatever. It's about learning how to adapt, how to recalibrate, how to learn and grow. It's to accept that indeed there's going to be all sorts of situations all throughout our life, but it's okay. I don't need for things to be always safe or perfect. I can deal with that. That's what resilience is. It's more like an attitude, a mindset. If you can realize that sometimes shit happens, it's not a problem. I can deal with anything. That's resilience. I hope it makes sense. So it's not really about strength or some sort of moral virtue, anything you like to call it. It's more about mindset. Resilience is accepting that we will go through storms and nice days, and it doesn't matter because we've got this. Because we will always learn what we need to learn in order to address any new situation. Because we may know some things, and we will always face some situations that are new and different that we don't know how to deal with yet. But as we go through it, that's how and when we learn. So does it answer your question, Ivy? Is it what you had in mind? Do you want to tell me more about what you maybe wanted to ask me? Lynn, a toxic. Were you made to believe that you weren't whole unless you had a partner? My upbringing was like that and had no self-worth if it wasn't in a relationship. Okay, so that's very interesting. There's that as well. Yes, I haven't thought about this, but potentially that could be that. But there are still beliefs that are creating depression, I believe, because there's a disconnection here. If we can realize that we are enough, we are complete, we have everything that we need here, we don't need to look elsewhere. We know we don't need it, but it will still happen. We will attract it. There will be no despair. There's no void to fill. It's more like, I want to make the most of my life. And so because of this, I want to meet people. I want to have a romantic relationship because this is a very exciting experience in my life. So I want to add more, as opposed to, I am not enough. I'm missing something. I'm lacking something. There's a hole. I need someone to complete it. It's a whole different, again, mindset and heart set. Matlochi Agassiz said hi. Hello. Genko, that emoji. Elsa, thank you. Thank you, Elsa. Genko, please excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the hospitality. Okay, so goodbye. See you next. Thank you for passing by. Ivy, resilience in dealing with a very difficult person while you work on getting away. So I need to know the situation. I don't know what you mean by resilience, because maybe it's not the right strategy to deal with that person. Can you tell me more about your situation, please? And I would love to give you some advice. Resilience in dealing with a very difficult person. When we deal, what do you mean by dealing with a person? And what are you dealing with? What is it? I need to know what it is, because there are millions of possibilities here while you work on getting away. Are you in an abusive relationship? Are you with someone who is narcissistic, who is manipulative and controlling? Are you trying to get away from them? Is that what you mean? Or not? Please correct me. If you can tell me that, I can really, really help you. But I need to have those details, please. Chris Smith. When I was young, I was prescribed Ritalin for ADHD, gave me wicked mood swings, go to 0 to 100 fast. Okay. So yes, drugs, medications, it's different for everyone. And really, the way the system is designed is terrible when it comes to mental health. We should really take people individually and understand some of their story to know precisely what is best for them, as opposed to prescribe the same pill just because it ticks the box and then get rid of them and next one. I understand that the NHS is overwhelmed, but when it comes to mental health, sadly, sometimes it can really make things worse. Ivy, message retracted. Ivy, yes, okay. Okay, okay, I understand. So now I'm back to my conversation. So you are in a relationship that is abusive, and you want to get out of there. Okay. So um, you don't need to be more resilient than you are. We are all born resilient. We're all born strong. We're all born brave. We're all born resourceful. We're all born with a lot of ideas and imagination. However, it's only when we're facing difficulties and hardship that we can see our power. So you don't need more. You already have those things. Tap into what you have and do the best every day, one moment at a time, to find your exit, to come out of that situation. The analogy that I use is that we can all do so many things, but it's only when the boat has sunk that we know how far we can swim. It's only when a wild animal is running after us, wanting to eat us, that we know how fast we can run, and so forth and so on. We all have the abilities inside of us, so you don't need to learn or to have anything more than what you are. What I'd say is that what you can do is to learn how to, I don't know if it's difficult because I don't know you, I don't know your state, but you want to essentially do your best to somehow, and I know that if you live in an abusive situation, it's going to be tricky, but basically reduce your exposure to stress. Let go of the stress that is in your body. Change the way that you think so that you don't create more stress, because the more stressed out you are, the less access you have to your rational mind. And it is that mental clarity that will help you make the right decisions at the right time to come out of that place. I hope it makes sense. The more stressed out we are, the more anxious we are, the more overwhelmed we are, the more emotional we are, the less access we have to our intelligence. And you need your intelligence, and you need also your calm to see things, to do things, to do the right thing at the right time. And so, is there any way that you can maybe learn and practice some breathing technique? Do you do this already? Learn how to breathe mindfully. And if you can do that, just that. I'm not asking you to learn how to meditate or practice mindfulness. Those things are skills that require a lot of time and focus and peace as well. But if you can at least learn how to breathe mindfully, check out on internet, on Google. There's a lot of different systems. There's something called the box breathing or the square breathing. There's something called the 478 or different numbers. And check out, try different. But basically what I'm trying to say is that if you can learn how to breathe mindfully, just by breathing mindfully, provided you practice it, can relax your body, get rid of the stress, and can get you to be in a better physical and mental place. And when you are into that place, that's when you are more able to take the right decisions, to organize your exit, and to come out of a situation. 1 second, please. And so, yes, let me know if you heard this and what you think of this piece, because I can see that there's not a lot of people left, and I'm not sure if there's anyone still here watching me. Elsa, I feel like some people have more resilience than others, though. Some people break down more easily than others, I think. Yes, but it's not something that we get. Some people are more resilient than others. Why? Because of their childhood, because of their relationship with their parents, because of the trauma that they had or not. All of those things are going to affect the way our brain functions. And so resilience is not a skill that we can have. We're limited by our brain's ability. Now, over time, it's possible to enhance and elevate any aspect of our brain. It's absolutely possible. But it's not like something that we can learn, like we learn how to play the guitar or not. Some people are more sensitive than others. Let's put it like that. Some people are more reactive than others. Some people feel more unsafe than others. So any of those people, and that includes me, because of the things that I've been through, we're going to find it very difficult to be resilient. And that's because the idea that we have of resilience is to be able to stay strong. But this is not resilience. Resilience is not the ability to stay strong. Resilience is how fast we get back to normal. We all get back on our feet. As long as we're alive, we always get back on our feet. So we are all resilient. So it depends on the definition that you have of resilience, of resilience. But if some people seem more resilient than others, maybe that's because they're lucky. They had a happy family that loved them, that were financially secure, Maybe they didn't get bullied at school. You know, any of those things. Maybe both of their parents were very mentally healthy. They didn't fight, and that will make a difference. People who are resilient, they have more coping mechanisms because of luck. That's it. It's not a skill that we develop. It's not to do with our character. Again, we're all which what we are, and we behave all in the only way we know how to behave based on who we believe we are. We don't choose this. Who we believe we are is the result of everything that happened to us up to this point. Ivy, thank you. I will look into box breathing. Finding calm and my rational mind is difficult, and it exacerbates already bad situation. Yes. So ideally, if you can seek some help, seek some help. But if not, and if you are already overwhelmed because you feel that you have so many things to do, learn how to breathe. Just that will reset your nervous system. This is the most underrated skill that we should all learn to deal with overwhelm, anxiety, or anything like that. When we breathe mindfully, we're literally resetting mechanically, biologically how we feel. There are some nerves all throughout our body, and depending on how we breathe, if we can breathe out for a longer time than we breathe in, we're going to send the message, the signal to our body that we want to go from sympathetic to parasympathetic state, which means from survival to chill, rest, digest. We can do this mechanically by breathing mindfully. It's that simple. And it works for everyone all the time, provided we do it until it works. So yes, Elsa, I had a tough childhood, but I ended up becoming very resilient. So it's not about the childhood then. Maybe your parents supported you or didn't traumatize you, and so you were able to do this. There's so many parameters. This is the thing. Nothing is just one thing. We are the result of so many things. And a lot of us, we get confused because we believe that it's this or that. But we don't live in a black and white world. There's a lot of different layers and level of intricacies for all of us. But the general idea is that whatever happens to us through our upbringing, including the genetic, including the mental state of our parents and their relationship and how they treated us and whether they're there for us or not, is going to create a system that will affect how we behave with people as we grow up. Some kids, they are being attacked at school, they fight back. But it's not because they're better, it's not because they're stronger, it's because they're luckier to have parents to somehow teach them how to behave like that. If you have parents that are dealing with problems in a way that is precise and calm, the children will learn that. If the parents are dealing with their own problems in a way that is losing control, freaking out, yelling, the children will also learn that to them, when they are facing problems, they must be all over the place. They must feel disempowered. And this is basically what we learn through the observation of our caregivers. So yes, Elsa, thank you so much for answering all my questions. It's my pleasure, of course. Please do keep asking. Chris Smith, do you believe in astral projection? Because certain events in my life, I saw myself in third person. I believe in everything, but I believe that we're all different and we're all going to have different experiences. And so if it happened to you, I believe that this was your experience. And maybe it was that different level. I believe in all sort of things. I really, really am open-minded. But I'm not going to give you a system, a formula to understand this and say it's going to work like that if you do this for everyone. We all have different type of sensitivity, and we are all going to go through different experiences based on so many things. And so I believe that. I believe in a lot of paranormal stuff, a lot of unexplained stuff. But I don't believe that there's a mechanism. I believe that there's only our experience to it. And so yes, there is such thing as astral projection. Some of my colleagues, they do sort of things. There are all sorts of things out there. I'm just going to check on YouTube when I'm there. Yes, I can see myself. Okay, so let me see. Elsa, I recommended the book The Power of Now. It's perfect. I recommend. Yes, Eckhart Tolle is a very important person into the field of mindfulness. I'm a very huge fan of him. Thank you very much. Yes, The Power of Now. He's written a few ones. There's another one called, I think, A New World or something like that. I have audiobooks, so I can't remember the titles always. But yes, he's very, very good. And what Eckhart teaches is mindfulness, no more or less. So basically, he's doing it in its own way. He's teaching some principles of Eastern philosophies, which is basically living in the moment, now, in the present moment. And this is something that we all use in therapy. It's a very important tool. Because if we could understand that most of our problems are born from our thoughts, then we can address them from that place. And so what I mean by that is that with the power of now, we focus on now, as opposed to the past or the future. And when we do this, we realize that right here, right now, in this moment, I'm safe, I'm fine, I can even be happy. But as long as our mind is traveling in the past or the future, that's why we create a lot of problems. We may be angry at whatever happened to us in the past. We may be scared and anxious about what may happen to us in the future. But they're just illusions. There's no such thing as past and future. They're not real. There's not a place called the past that we can return to. And there's not a place called the future that we can ever arrive to. There's only now, all the time. And this is what Eckhart Tolle basically teaches. But he's only reflecting in his very talented way the wisdoms of a lot of Eastern philosophies, such as Taoism, Buddhism, things like that. Mindfulness is all originated from those school of thought. But yes, The Power of Now is a great book. Anything with Eckhart Tolle. And also, if you don't like to read, there's a lot of videos and stuff from him on YouTube, on TikTok, everywhere. There's a lot of material out there to explore. We're coming to the end of the thread. I'm going to, if there's any more question, I will address them. But okay, there's something here. Chris Smith. No disrespect, but I notice you have a lot of tattoos. Is your full body tattooed? Yes, I've got loads of them, indeed. There's no disrespect. Tattoos, I like them, so there's nothing disrespectful about this, indeed. Okay, I'm going to go now, slowly. If you have any last question, I will answer them. But if not, it's okay. I will come back sometime next week. And so, just so you know, I exist both on TikTok and on YouTube. So I am on TikTok. I go live on TikTok in the evening, weekdays, depending on my schedule and my mood and level of energy. And I always come on YouTube live on Saturdays. So the time varies, again, depending on my schedule. What I do, however, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, on Saturday morning, you will know when I have scheduled the live for. So if you want to join, you can get yourself around this. And also, there's a difference between TikTok and YouTube. The live videos that I do on TikTok, they're only there when it's live and they disappear. Whereas on YouTube, I leave them on my profile. And so if you ask me anything, you can always replay the video and retrieve the information afterward. So now I'm going to say goodbye. Guys, thank you for interacting with me. I will come back next week. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. And if you use TikTok, find me on TikTok. I think there's a link somewhere on my, and you can follow me there. I put 3 new short videos every day on TikTok. The one that I use on YouTube are 2 months behind, so there's a little bit of diversity. And also, I'm still working on that, but at some point, maybe in a month's time, I will be able to resume creating some new long format videos for YouTube. But I still need to organize myself. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. If you need more details about me as a therapist and coach, there's a link on my profile that takes you to my website. You can send me an email from there, and we can organize a free discovery call if you wish. Let me finish the last comment. Chris Smith, do you get stereotypes about your tattoos, like people are scared of you? Not anymore. I mean, I live in London and it's 2025, and so this doesn't happen. If I went to certain place of the world, I know that if you go to some places in Japan or Korea, people are still very, very old-fashioned, and they may have some ideas and look at me in a strange ways. But in London, no, every other person is tattooed. So there's nothing really special about this anyway. Elsa, thank you so much. Thank you, Elsa. Lynn, enjoy the rest of your weekend, Didi. Thank you so much, and same to you. Guys, I love you all. Look after yourself. Be kind to others if you can, and remember to be kind to yourself. Okay. Goodbye now. Bye-bye.